Today's show is sponsored by Center County Highway Revolt. Have you ever wanted to take a day trip to a small Pennsylvania town or hike through the beautiful Appalachian Mountains, but don't want to deal with all the traffic, the high gas prices, and windy mountain roads? The Center County Highway Revolt is a citizen-led initiative trying to save farms and forests, combat climate change, and boost small-town economies by building a rail transit network all across the state. And their plan calls for connections to existing Amtrak trains. Learn more and get involved at centercountyhighwayrevolt.org. CityCast Pittsburgh is supported by Fulton Commons. If you're looking for a gorgeous co-working space with lots of light and some truly wonderfully funky decor, check out Fulton Commons on the north side. The historic but very well renovated old school building is deep in the neighborhood by a park, tucked away but still super close to anywhere you want to be. They've got offices and common spaces. It's perfect for organizations or individuals, and they even have a shared food production kitchen on site. So there's lots of food-related events for their members. If this sounds like your dream co-working space, visit fultonpgh.org to request a tour. Today on CityCast Pittsburgh, more than a few Steelers fans are mad this week, and it's not just because of the new quarterback. A major golf tournament is about to get underway and allegedly bring with it a whole lot of money, and some of our county's biggest paychecks are going to some unexpected people. I'm with CityCast's Mallory Falk and Sophia Lowe talking about some of the biggest stories of the week. It's Friday, June 6th. I'm Megan Harris, and here's what Pittsburgh's talking about. Mallory, Sophia, hello. It is finally warm outside. It feels like summer now.
But it's humid, so I'm still not outside.
Do you ever go outside? Do you have a season, Sophia?
Yeah, fall, when everything's getting cold. I can have my little coffee. When things get spooky, I want to see a bat.
I think you're in luck. There are a lot of those around here. Well, we will be talking through this week in Pittsburgh news. Lots of wildfire smoke, warm weather. Early in the week, it felt like Trump still kind of dominated the news cycle. And weirdly, the Steelers, too.
Yeah. So, Trump came to visit the region last Friday. He went to a rally in West Mifflin at a U.S. Steel facility, ostensibly to talk about this deal that he now supports between U.S. Steel and Nippon Steel, what he's referred to as a planned partnership. There were a lot of open questions going into the rally about this deal, and he did not really answer those. We didn't come away with a lot more details. But he did use that opportunity to announce raising tariffs on steel, doubling those tariffs to 50%. That went into effect this week, as well as higher tariffs on aluminum.
I mean, honestly, from that event, what I saw was more Steelers news than whatever the stuff about U.S. Steel came out to be.
I mean, in true Pittsburgh fashion, the Steelers always take precedent.
And there wasn't that much U.S. Steel news, so, makes sense.
Fair enough. And then the Steelers, because a few current and former Steelers joined Trump on stage. So that included backup quarterback Mason Rudolph, safety Miles Killebrew, and then former player Rocky Bleier also showed up. He gave Trump a custom Steelers jersey with the number 47 and then called him an honorary Steeler.
Which enough people were mad about that the Steelers felt compelled to respond. I mean, I guess I understand that whole tradition of giving presidents jerseys or whatever, but I also get why people are mad about this. Rocky Bleier, if you're not familiar, he is a Hall of Famer. He played during Pittsburgh's heyday in the 70s, and he has such a dramatic personal backstory. He goes to Notre Dame, he gets drafted by the Steelers, plays a season or two, and then he gets drafted into Vietnam. He's injured. It's really bad. He gets a Bronze Star, Purple Heart. He comes home and he's so thin and in so much pain that even though he is technically still a Steeler, they take him back. I think it takes him 4 years or something to get strong enough and pain-free enough that he can play, start again, be in that kind of shape. And that is the year that we start winning Super Bowls. The guy has 4 rings as a Steeler.
I did not know any of this, I'm going to be honest.
And I mean, he's done so much philanthropic work over the years. Like, he's a motivational speaker. That's been his post-football career. Like, he has this big platform, and he chooses to use it to stand on stage in Pittsburgh with Donald Trump.
For what it's worth, in terms of giving presidents jerseys, I know that happens, but the Philadelphia Inquirer pointed out that most of the time this happens on like an official White House visit. So this is a little bit different, but like none of these Steelers were there for, an official visit. They were there just because they wanted to be there on their own time.
Exactly.
Just as individual fans.
And yeah, so a lot of Steelers fans who are not Trump supporters were not happy. So they sent a bunch of angry emails to the team, and then the Steelers sent a letter back that was pretty generic, kind of like, thank you for reaching out and sharing your thoughts. Our current and former Steelers make individual decisions, and these reflect their personal views. They don't necessarily align with our stances. But obviously, like, this letter did not say, as an organization, whether they were pro or against Trump.
Which, like, they shouldn't say that. But, I mean, who knows? The team finally closed the loop yesterday on noted conspiracy theorist Aaron Rodgers, who was no good at the Jets, but for some reason we're giving him a shot as a Steeler.
He has weird vaccine ideas. I'm just gonna try to stay away from him.
I kind of tapped out of the Steelers and football altogether around the time of some allegations against Ben Roethlisberger and all the stuff coming out about CTE. And this decision to sign Aaron Rodgers just makes me feel all the more validated from saying, you know what, the NFL, the Steelers franchise, this is not for me.
Although notably, as I was seeing headlines pop yesterday, one that made me laugh isn't the word, but like at least was not what I expected to see. Apparently, Aaron Rodgers was not a Trump guy. He was an RFK stan. Like,
that makes sense with the vaccinations. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not surprised that he was an RFK person, because I remember there being like headlines about him being floated as a potential VP candidate for RFK. I remember that. But like, I didn't know he was like anti-Trump. Like, although I should caveat that, like, as I was reading more about it, it was because he was anti-Anthony Fauci and blamed Trump for hiring Anthony Fauci at the time. It just gets weirder and weirder the more you read.
Yeah, that's weird logic. But, the Steelers team owners, the Rooney family, they've aligned themselves with Democrats in the past. Like, Dan Rooney served as the ambassador to Ireland during one of Obama's terms.
Yeah, which we actually talked about on this show. And also, I guess, an aside here on the whole jersey thing, just to bring it back to that at the Trump rally. Like, I know this is the smallest piece of it, but number 47 is in itself like an important Steelers number. And I got to wonder, like, how does that guy feel about all of this? Because it belonged to Mel Blount. He and Rocky played together for 10 years. And the jersey number is not officially retired by the team, but like, it was still worn by a Steeler for a long time. A lot of people know and liked that guy, respected him. And if anyone's going to give away like number 47, maybe it should have been him and not Rocky Bleier. Like, that part just felt weird to me.
Well, if you aren't pissed, the team did announce its upcoming training camp schedule. So this takes place at St. Vincent College in Latrobe. So this starts on July 23rd, but the first session that's open to the public for viewing is on July 24th. One nice thing about this is it is totally free, so your money's not going anywhere. But you do need a ticket. Season pass holders get first dibs on these tickets. So if you're a season pass holder, look out for the ticket drop on June 24th.
It's the only thing season pass holders get for free.
Well, I guess this is the one time of the year you can cash it in. So 10 a.m.
I mean, it is legitimately a very cool thing. Like, I think we're either the only or one of only two teams in the NFL that still do this. Like, it used to be a tradition they all did, and we're one of the only ones left.
Yeah, I had not heard of anyone doing this. I mean, not that I paid that much attention to sports, but I feel like I would have known if the big football team in the area did a free kind of like preview. And
yeah, it's like meet and greets, and you can watch them practice and play, and you get very, very close to the players and their families, which is also just like an interesting dynamic.
Oh, I didn't realize their families were there. That's interesting.
Yeah, they all show up. It's like a picnic atmosphere. You sit on a hillside. It's super cute.
It feels like a relic from another time.
It is. It 100% is.
And if you are not a season pass holder, you can wait until noon, and then more leftover tickets get released. So fingers crossed if you're in that boat.
And there's tons of them. You will be able to get a ticket if you want one.
And if all of this sounds intriguing to you and you want to learn a little bit more about what to expect there, Megan actually took a field trip to training camp for a CityCast episode several years ago now. So we will drop a link to that episode in the show notes so that you can go prepared.
So also in sports news this week, the Penguins, our hockey team, got a new coach. It's kind of a little switcheroo with the New York Rangers, which I thought was kind of fun. So we dismissed our coach, Mike Sullivan, a few weeks ago.
Right.
He got picked up to be the head coach of the Rangers. And it seems like it was somewhat amicable, or at least expected. Sully was in charge for our last 2 Stanley Cups. So lots of love there, but we've not been doing super well. So they got to make a change. We picked up an assistant coach from the Rangers, Dan Muse. I was actually listening to WDVE this morning, and they were talking about how Muse has this really varied resume, that he's sort of known as like a student of the game, like a professor type, which they were kind of making fun of, saying that's like not a thing that usually the Penguins as an organization responds well to.
They don't like their coaches educated.
I mean, it's not like a lack of education. It's just like there are different types of coaches, and like some of them that are like really in the weeds on strategy may or may not be like the person for us. Mm-hmm. All of that said, they were like, success has followed this guy everywhere he's gone at every level of the game. So hopefully, like, they sounded hopeful about it, and
That's
they
good.
pay a lot more attention than I think we do here on this show. So it was nice to hear some like good like criticism, but like in a constructive way from that source. But I mean, I don't know. This team is still really old, and I've just like lost any ability to defend that now. Like, I'm really only living for the half price Rusty Shakes at Milkshake Factory when Brian Rust scores a goal.
Thank you for the reminder.
I check the pen scores every time just for that half price shake. It's so good.
It's just such a bummer because I was really hoping that this configuration of the team would be really triumphant and it would be a win for
older people in their late 30s everywhere.
Yeah, I was going to say those of us over 40. I'm not over 40 yet. I'm like prematurely putting myself in that category. But anyway, yeah, people on the slightly older side. So I'm sad that this is what's come to pass.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're still making changes, but like, yeah, we've still got our core group for a little while longer.
Well, I have some good baseball news for once. This is probably like the first nice development all season after a lot of Pirates' self-inflicted wounds.
I am at least excited once they release the new snacks. Like, even if I'm not looking forward to them, I want to see what they're cooking up.
Literally cooking.
Fair. Yeah, good one. So Andrew McCutchen, our star outfielder, he has officially tied Roberto Clemente for home runs. So they are both third in team history at 240 runs. I will admit I'm not like super into these kind of stats to know like how impressive is that?
I mean, I can only speak to Pirates history, but it's, I mean, obviously it's a lot because it's third. McCutchen, though, I think one caveat for him, he's played for other teams. So he actually has 324 home runs overall, but only 240 have been here at the Pirates. The number 1 and number 2, Willie Stargell has 475 home runs.
Whoa.
So I don't think at age 38 Andrew McCutchen's going to touch that one. And the next one is Ralph Kiner. I think I'm saying that right, with 301. And I mean, I don't know if Kutch goes on a tear. I guess that one is maybe achievable. I'm skeptical, but I did think it was cute that both Clemente and Kutch got this at age 38. Another win for the folks in their late 30s in Pittsburgh.
Well, speaking of Pittsburgh baseball history, I got to shout out our own team because we actually just won an award for a podcast episode we did about Josh Gibson, who played on the Negro League back in the 30s and 40s and was recently recognized as the best batter in baseball history. So if you want to take a listen to that episode, we talked with his great-grandson about what this honor and recognition meant to him. We will drop a link in our show notes.
Yeah, and one last baseball note, just because I think it's fun. It's poop weekend here in Pittsburgh. So the Pittsburgh Pirates are playing the Phillies, and our logos are peas, obviously. So if you look at the score during any of these games, while it's still 0-0, it spells out P00P. So I love so much when we play the Phillies because you always get the screenshots of poop.
It's the only time you can say it's poop weekend in a given city, and that's a positive thing.
Only in Pittsburgh and Philly. That's where you can do it. At Poop Weekend and one of the others. But right now it's Pittsburgh.
And one more sports tidbit. The U.S. Open for golf, not tennis like I originally thought, starts soon in Oakmont.
Sophia, I'll be real. I also originally thought it was tennis, and I was a little more excited for that. But
oh, come on, y'all.
I did get excited for this once I saw the Pittsburgh-themed concessions that they're going to be offering, because, of course, that's my number one priority at any sporting event. But so the U.S. Open is happening here from June 9th to 15th. So the practice rounds start on the 9th, and then the championship rounds kick in on the 12th. And if you are going, you should look out for the Oakmont shaved kielbasa sandwich. That's going to be served at all future U.S. Opens.
Shaved kielbasa? I don't know what that is.
I also am saying go check it out. This is not remotely a sandwich I would eat. But yeah, I don't actually.
Wait, I clicked on the news story that you shared with us, Valerie, and the lead photo is just stuffed squirrels.
That's because the squirrel is like the logo for them. I don't know why. It's a squirrel holding a golf ball.
It's
very cute, but it does not tell me what a shaved kielbasa sandwich is.
No, unfortunately, at least in this KDKA story, there is no image of the shaved kielbasa sandwich. I mean, I assume you just take a kielbasa and like shave it kind of like a gyro meat or something.
Stop it. I can't. There's something about the image of that I can't handle.
But so that is the sandwich that will be representing our region, because actually, I guess like at all future U.S. Opens, there's going to be 3 sandwiches to represent the 3 USGA anchor sites. So there's this Oakmont shaved kielbasa. There's a Pebble Beach chicken sandwich, which, I mean, that's so
fine.
Pedestrian, whatever. And then a Pinehurst barbecue pork sandwich. So
they're all meat. So maybe golf people only eat meat sandwiches. I don't know.
They're carnivorous people. Yeah, I don't know. But also if, the sandwich selections are not what's taking you to the U.S. Open, there will also be all these different cool experiences. Like you can get your photo taken with the U.S. Open trophy.
Can you touch it?
I do not know the answer to that.
I hope so. With the Stanley Cup, you can touch it when you can do photo ops with it.
I'm going to get my sticky barbecue sauce hands all over the trophy.
Okay, I don't think you can do that.
They hand you a wet wipe before you're allowed to engage.
Actually, I do remember putting on hand sanitizer before I was allowed to go near the Stanley Cup. So yes, actually, that might be a thing.
Never mind then.
The other thing that sounded neat to me, I am not a golf person, but you actually get to putt on a replica of the 18th green at Oakmont. And I know this course is notorious for being really challenging. And so I imagine if you're super into golf, that's a really cool opportunity to try, putting the same way that all of these superstars are. Do golfers call themselves superstars?
I'm surprised they're letting regular people near it.
Well, it's
this close.
It's a replica.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay, got it.
Yeah, I don't think they're just letting Joe Schmo wander onto
Yeah, because you
wouldn't
want to mess up the grass right before it's a thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was really surprised to learn that Oakmont is such a hard course. It's consistently made the list on Golf Digest for hardest courses. It's because there are a bunch of slopes and fast greens. Like you were saying, Mallory, the ball moves quicker than other courses when you're putting. There are a lot of bunkers, which means sand traps and obstacles. But I guess that might make for a good show, and this whole thing is allegedly a tourism driver. According to the U.S. Golf Association, it's expected to draw 200,000 fans, and the economic impact is supposed to be $200 million. This creates 1,500 temporary jobs, so that's throughout U.S. Open week, again, according to the USGA.
I always wonder, though, do people coming for events like this, the folks coming in for Oakmont, do they actually make it down to the city? Maybe they do. I always wonder.
I would say probably, just because with that many people, I find it hard to believe that none of them are coming into the city.
Fair.
I also saw an article from the Trib that mentions hotels like the Omni downtown expect to be fully booked.
Yeah, golf people, they're staying at those fancy hotels. Heck yeah.
And also Airbnb searches jumped a lot for Pittsburgh and then the entire metro area. So I'm sure at least some of these attendees are going to be staying in the city and popping around local restaurants and stuff. But I highly recommend this Trib article because a big focus of the story is also individuals renting out their entire homes. Some of them are closer to Oakmont, but the prices on these homes for rentals range from $5,000 to $65,000 for a week.
Oh man,
Whoa.
I should have rented out my house and gotten some mortgage payments that way.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I guess it's also worth throwing out too. There is something of a lasting impact to the golf scene here in the Pittsburgh region too, because that same organization you were talking about, Sophia, the U.S. Golf Association, they gave $1 million to 3 public golf courses. I could not tell if they meant $1 million each or $1 million between them. Either way, it's a lot of money. So these are for the ones in North and South Park, so owned by the county, and then the Bob in Shenley Park. That's the Bob O'Connor golf course. But they picked all of those because they are the most accessibly priced. So you can play a round of golf for $20 or less, which they say is just like, that's a way of being a good steward for the future of the sport. You got to make it possible for people to go and play.
My biggest question for the U.S. Open is whether anyone from Sell the Team is going to show up there.
Oh, you're right.
Make their case at this widely televised event.
Yeah, that would be funny if like any chance broke out, or they do like what someone did in South Carolina and yell firebomb nutting right after a shot. I do think it's still funny that they like picked like the winning shot, like the final shot that mattered to do it, because like you get ejected if you pull something like that.
Well, we are going to move on to our weekly trivia segment because not only is it U.S. Open season, it is officially summer blockbuster season. So I have a movie-related question for you. Fun fact, Pittsburgh is actually where the movie theater as we know it was born. So before like moving pictures would get screened in places that already existed and provided other forms of entertainment like amusement parlors, which I wish we would bring those back. That sounds really fun.
It sounds like an adult-oriented entertainment to me.
Or that. Or. Both and? I don't know. Anyway, in 1905, these two guys teamed up to open the first standalone movie theater right here in Pittsburgh on Smithfield Street. So I have 2 questions for you this week. What was that theater called, and how much did a ticket cost?
Movies for you and movies for the
Pit.
I don't know.
Yeah, the letter U?
I just want 4 in the letter U or something.
I don't know if that was a trend in 1905.
Well, my guess for how much it costs to watch a movie was 10 cents.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say like a nickel, something like that. I have no idea what this theater was called.
Well, I will have the answer after the break.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso and Samra Origins by the Weekend Coffee Collection.
Introducing Samra Origins. My collaboration with Nespresso is a connection to my roots, to my mother, Samra. Coffee that hits the right notes. It transports you. Crafted with unique notes and bold, soaring flavors. Experience a taste that moves you. Nespresso and Samra Origins.
Discover more at Nespresso.com.
Are you still quoting 30-year-old movies? Have you said cool beans in the past 90 days? Do you think Discover isn't widely accepted? If this sounds like you, you're stuck in the past. Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. And every time you make a purchase with your card, you automatically earn cash back. Welcome to the now. It pays to Discover. Learn more at discover.com/credit card. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
Okay, so Megan gets 1 point. Sophia gets 0 out of 2.
You mean it's not called Movies for You?
Neither spelling of Movies for You. So it cost a nickel to watch a movie. And
that was
for
a
that
wild
reason,
guess. That's cool.
It was called the Nickelodeon.
Oh, well, okay, of course.
Yeah, so Pittsburgh has a really prominent spot in movie-going history.
Actually, I will throw it out to the Hollywood Theater down in Dormont. I know they're still, under construction and working on that space, but they have a ton of film history on posters in the basement around the bathrooms. I don't know if that's going to make the renovation, but I really hope they keep it because I learned so much about movie history in Pittsburgh from like reading all the plaques around the bathrooms down there. It was super cool.
Also, go into the bathrooms. They are very retro.
That has to stay. There's no way they're getting rid of all that pastel tile.
One other fun fact as we're talking about different theaters is that the Harris Theater downtown is actually named for one of the guys that co-founded this Nickelodeon theater. His name was John P. Harris.
I didn't know that. That was one of my first like photo ops in Pittsburgh when I moved here, is like standing under it. So I was like, oh, look, I found my apartment. I did not, in fact, live above the Harris. So we'll move on to some news. Next up, Public Source dropped its annual review of county salaries. I love it when they do this. So they're kind of run the gamut. These folks are all paid for through taxpayer money. So, you can ask as a journalist, as a regular person, to see who is making what. So shout out to reporter Charlie Wolfson, who, kind of digested all of this and put it into a format that is very easy to read. Really appreciate how they did this. The graphics make it so they condense it so well, but they also link to their full source data if you want to see it. Public Source always does a great job with that. So we just wanted to chat through what stuck out to us, what made us laugh, what we have questions about. Mallory, you kick us off.
Yeah. So, I mean, this wasn't like the top takeaway from Public Source's analysis or anything, but
we're just talking about our opinions, what jumped out to us.
Yeah. So, because something I noticed scrolling through was that there are a bunch of county positions that are related to air quality. There are jobs like air quality scientist, air quality engineer, air quality tech. And I truly never thought about the fact that this could be like a position, a department within the county, but it makes a lot of sense in our region because we have a lot of issues around air quality, like especially in the Mon Valley.
Especially this week.
Yeah, wildfires, and there was also a breakdown this week at the Clairton Cokeworks plant.
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah. Something that I just started thinking about as I was scrolling through this list and noticed all these air quality positions where I am really curious whether like every county has a bunch of people working on air quality or if that is more specific to Allegheny County, to this region, or to other cities that have plants and have kind of these issues with air quality.
Like manufacturing centers like Pittsburgh.
Yeah. So a quick Google search did not give me the answer, but it's something I'm very curious about now.
Yeah. I mean, mine are more questions than answers too. I did not know that the medical examiner's office was so lucrative. So if you look at the top 10 list from Public Source, numbers 1, 4, 7, and 8 are all people from the ME's office. Combined, it's nearly $1 million in salaries alone.
I would never have guessed that would be like the number one most paid position in the county.
I know. And I mean, not all of those are still there or were there at the same time. So like, for example, Carl Williams was our medical examiner for several years. He left last year. His successor is the number one, though, Ariel Goldschmidt, and she makes $40,000 more than he did. So Carl was number 4, although he just drew a partial amount of that. Ariel is number 1 for 2024. I just thought this was wild. But then I was telling someone about it, while I was looking this up, and they reminded me that like all of these people are extremely highly skilled humans with like medical degrees who could probably work anywhere else they choose to. But instead they have decided to be public servants. So I should probably back off on my utter shock about this. As opposed to, like a lot of political appointees that, as they put it, just sort of fall into their job because of relationships or whatever. I just thought it was really funny. I had no idea that the ME's office brought in this much cash.
Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that either. But the thing that stood out most to me were all the names that were redacted and kept secret.
So that was the crux of the Public Source article.
Right.
Yeah.
So 21 out of the 40 top earners, we don't actually know who they are. We do know they're in like law enforcement, like police officers, sheriffs. So PA state law lets you redact names if the employee is doing undercover work. And Public Source explains that Allegheny County has interpreted the law, so that also includes anyone who's been undercover. So,
like ever in the past. And that's new this year. Like previously, it was just anyone who was currently undercover. Now it's anyone who's ever been undercover.
Yeah. So now I want to know who's been undercover. I mean, I know they can't give me the names, but now I want to know who's doing like the hush-hush work.
It's the Barbra Streisand effect. The fact that it's redacted makes you more interested.
Well, I'm just also curious. This feels like a lot of people, like over half. I'm curious how we compare to other counties or, other like cities. Questions for another day.
I mean, the whole, the law enforcement field as a whole makes up a huge portion of this. I was also blown away that a handful of correctional officers, so I assume that means people at the jail, have base pays that feel really reasonable to me, around $80,000. But the overtime, just the overtime pay is between $80,000 and $130,000.
That's a
on
salary
top
on its own.
of their base pay. That means these people, like the highest ones, are grossing $212,000. Like that just, how is that even possible? Like just pay them a higher base pay and cap the overtime. I just think that's a bananas way to compensate someone with taxpayer money.
Also, if they're earning that amount, then that actually would put them like at the top of the
it does.
salary chart.
It puts them way at the highest end of the salary chart, like for the entire county. That seems so weird to me. I know we need more correctional officers, but maybe we would get more if you made the base pay like something like $130,000, $140,000, and then like that way they wouldn't need so much overtime. It just seems like a really weird way to do it.
Kind of along that vein of we should be paying more. I know that, in the city of Pittsburgh, so not the county, we've had problems with hiring plumbers. We have more now. We can turn on all the water fountains.
Woo woo.
But just because of, what's happened historically in the city in recent years, I was surprised to see that plumbing inspector made number 20 on the county list. So total gross pay was a little over $180,000. Overtime on this, just a few $100s. So this one seems like kind of what you were saying, Megan, like they're paying appropriately with a base pay, and hopefully the city has increased base pay and that's why we have more plumbers now. But anyway, I'm in support of this one.
The only caveat to that is that a county plumbing inspector is responsible for a lot more territory than just the city.
Fair.
I also want everyone to be well paid, so I'm not advocating for less for anybody, but it is, more pipes to inspect.
Speaking of jobs, we're actually going to run through a few other new positions here in our region.
Yes. So we finally have a winner in that super close school board race that we talked about right after the primary election. So the current board president, Gene Walker, he beat out his challenger, Ali Patonic, by just 5 votes. So
nuts.
So on election night, she was actually in the lead by only 1 vote. But now the county's counted all the provisional ballots, and there was also a precinct that hadn't been reported yet. And Walker was able to hold on to his seat. But again, said this last time, saying it now, if you need any evidence that your vote counts, this should be the evidence.
Yeah, 1,000%. And if this were a state election, there would be a recount. Like that would be part of the whole thing. I think there's different rules for the county, but it's wild. Like 5 votes, 5 votes.
And Patonic just conceded this week. So that's why we can say now we've got officially all of our school board members sorted.
Another one, Bishop David Zubik. So he's been the head of the Catholic Diocese of Pittsburgh. He announced that he is retiring. 1,000%. Did not realize that he had held this job as long as he has. He's been there since 2007. It's just such a long time.
But we did not get a local conclave. It turns out Pope Leo just picks for us.
Sophia, is all your research based on the movie?
I actually didn't pay that much attention during the movie, but I did pay attention in real life.
But there's been a lot of change during Zubik's tenure. He was just the 12th one ever, so not even a lot of people historically have held this job. There were a lot of consolidations, of parishes, of churches, schools even, a lot of name changes over this period, just a lot of history.
And then, of course, also during Zubik's tenure, the diocese paid out nearly $19.2 million to sexual abuse survivors. So a lot of this reckoning of what had been happening in the church, it started decades ago, but it really did reach its apex while Zubik was in charge. The big grand jury report on all of this dropped in 2018.
Yeah, and just a teeny bit of Pittsburgh history here. Zubik's predecessor, Donald Wuerl, he was bishop in Pittsburgh from 1988 to 2006. He then became the Archbishop of D.C. He was a cardinal. He helped with a conclave previously that was under Pope Benedict. But when all of the allegations of sexual assault by clergy came to light in 2018, we knew about some of them, but we didn't have the evidence in front of us in the way that we did once that report came out. Wuerl faced so much criticism for not doing enough about accusations that popped here in Pittsburgh. There is a lot of evidence that he did try to address some of it, but it was a really damning period. And ultimately, he resigned in the wake of all of that. He had actually submitted his resignation in 2015 when he turned 75, part of this mandatory retirement age that they have. But Pope Francis didn't accept it then. But he did accept it in 2018 after all of this came to light.
I didn't realize that the Pope can just decide to not accept a resignation.
I didn't either, but maybe it's different when you reach like the level of archbishop or cardinal. I don't know.
Well, so now turning to the new bishop, his name is Mark Eckman. He's been an auxiliary bishop with the diocese since 2022, and he is local. He grew up in Bethel Park. He spent much of his career in the South Hills. And apparently there are about 24 bishops across the U.S. that are hitting retirement age right now. So Eckman says, he got the call from the Vatican this week, and he was preparing to say goodbye to the Pittsburgh region because there were so many different places that he could have gotten assigned. Pittsburgh was not a given, but then he was really happy to learn that he would be staying here. And also, I guess this is one of the first actions of the new Pope, Pope Leo. So it's kind of cool that he prioritized Pittsburgh. That's something County Executive Sarah Innamorato shouted out. But my favorite detail from all of the reporting about the new bishop was the lead of this Trib story where they went out and talked to folks at Resurrection Parish in Bethel Park, which is where Eckman lives. It says, Bishop Mark Eckman, newly appointed as the 13th bishop of the Catholic Diocese of Pittsburgh, is known as a tech-savvy leader whose favorite meal is pea soup and salmon. And
how much has this man talked about pea soup that this becomes the first thing on people's lips about him?
I fully support it. He's like, important now. I mean, it sounded like he was doing a lot of stuff before too, but he's probably going around to events. Now people know exactly what to serve him. He's guaranteed his favorite meal.
That is so smart, because I was truly wondering, did these reporters go out and everyone was like, if I know one thing about this man, it's that he loves his pea soup and salmon. That was the most critical detail about him. But Sophia, maybe this was intentionally planted so that everyone can have his favorite meal ready to go.
Or maybe that's your way into the good graces of the bishop, you have the superior pea soup, this could really set off a whole cooking challenge.
Well, St. Paul Cathedral better get that pea soup and salmon ready, because he is officially getting installed as bishop at that cathedral in Oakland on July 14th.
This episode is brought to you by San Pellegrino. A meal isn't just about what's on your plate. It's about what you bring to the table. San Pellegrino believes the table is where the best of life happens. That's what makes gathering around it so rich and rewarding. And with their unique sparkling natural mineral water, San Pellegrino brings its best so you can bring yours.
This episode is sponsored by Friskies, who would like to tell your cats hi. Now, if that didn't get your cat's attention, there is one thing that always does the trick. Just pour some Friskies crunchy food in the bowl and you'll hear those paws come running. Works every time. With so many Friskies choices, you can always bring your cats running from their secret napping spots. There's always more to explore. See for yourself at friskies.com or visit your local store.
We are back, and we are going to talk about some other things that happened here in Pittsburgh this week. But first up, we have got some CityCast neighbor shout outs. Sophia, take it away.
Yes, today I am sharing a shout out from Green Tree resident but lifelong Point Breezer, Erin L. Erin wants to bring some attention to the Instagram account. It's at 218 Weeks of Action.
So 218 weeks of action.
Yes, exactly. So every week, this account posts about an organization or a nonprofit that's helping out our most vulnerable neighbors and gives some information about how you can tap in. Almost all of these are local groups. For example, this week's post is about the Persad Center, which provides mental health treatment and other resources to queer people in Pittsburgh and Washington. Another thing I want to shout out about the Persad Center is that it is home to Phoenix Fitness. This is a gym for the trans and gender nonconforming community. I highly recommend it. It's not a super big gym, but it has all the amenities you really need, some cardio machines, free weights, rowing machine, and then weight machines. Membership is also free, so I think that is the biggest perk of them all. And then if you head over to Phoenix Fitness website, you can fill out that form and get signed up. So thank you so much again, Erin L., for telling us about that Instagram account. It's at 218 Weeks of Action.
And if you are hearing this and you want to shout out too, you want to share your favorite local business or nonprofit or thing you are just really loving here in Pittsburgh by becoming a CityCast Pittsburgh neighbor. So we will read it right here. We will also share it in our Hey Pittsburgh newsletter. You can join today at membership.citycast.fm. And if you are hearing this and you are already a neighbor, send us what you like. We really want to know. It can be truly anything. We want to hear your best recommendations. Thank you also to our newest neighbors, Gloria G. and Justin N.
Welcome.
Welcome. You can both now send us something to shout out. So we are really excited to hear from yins.
And you're not limited to one shout out. You can keep contributing.
Yes.
So please keep them coming.
Okay, so Mallory, what else happened in Pittsburgh or what's something you're thinking about?
So Juneteenth festivities are just a couple weeks away. We talked about this on the show recently. They kick off on June 19th. But the organizer, B. Marshall, who's been, organizing this celebration for over a decade, he says he still doesn't have the permits he needs to host this celebration. And he's actually taking the city to court over the delay. So B. Marshall applied for a permit back in February, and now he has filed paperwork in Allegheny County Common Pleas Court to try to compel the city to act on that permit application. The city told the Trib that the reason it's still under review is because they say B. Marshall and PennDOT have to work out amongst themselves whether PennDOT will approve a request to close down part of Penn Avenue for the celebrations. But if you remember last summer, there was also some drama around Juneteenth celebrations. So, like I said, B. Marshall has been hosting this big Juneteenth festival for years. But last year, the city decided to host its own separate celebration. And there was kind of a brouhaha over the city funding its own event and not B. Marshall's that ultimately committed to funding both of them.
Is the city even doing one this year? Is that a thing? I haven't seen anything.
Not that I've seen, at least. So I guess we'll see what happens with this one. But reminder, usually this takes place downtown, but obviously there's a lot of construction there right now as the city is preparing for next year's NFL draft. So this Juneteenth celebration is set to mostly take place in Mellon Park.
Speaking of things that are historically at Point State Park but aren't anymore, the Three Rivers Arts Festival is already underway. So it is, again, in a different location than it used to be, also shorter than usual. It kicked off last night, runs through Sunday, just 4 days this year instead of 10. It's in the Strip District instead of downtown, again, because of construction. There's just so much in flux right now because of all these projects and the draft and all the things. But the festival should have a permanent home starting next year when the Arts Landing site that they just broke ground on a few weeks ago, when that's all done.
Yeah, that's going to be in the Cultural District.
Right. So if you want to plan your visit, just make sure you think ahead about parking and things like that. As we said, the Phillies are in town.
Take the bus. It's so easy to take the bus to the Strip District.
Yeah. And there's bike parking down there too. It's part of that 15th Street area. But there's some cool acts coming, like the Preservation Jazz Hall Band from New Orleans. I've seen them in New Orleans several times. I love them so much. Cautious Clay is coming on Saturday. Lisa Loeb and Suzanne Vega are on for Sunday. But just also remember to check the air quality if that worries you, because the wildfire smoke seems to not be terrible, but be lingering a little bit. So if you're sensitive, just spare a glance.
And I will end with another outdoor activity. It involves animals because that is how you get me outside. So the South Park Game Preserve announced the new arrival of a baby buffalo. Her name is
bouncing
Kai.
Baby buffalo.
And her mother is Lily and her father is Big Head. The preserve is actually expecting a second baby buffalo later this year because Rosie is supposed to give birth soon. And if you're wondering why we have buffalo here in the first place, Allegheny County commissioners purchased a herd of buffalo for conservation efforts a while ago, almost a century ago, in 1927. Have you seen pictures of the little baby?
Only because it was in our Hey Pittsburgh newsletter. It kind of reminds me of a Highland cow. Those cute, fluffy little redheaded cows. They're so cute.
She's kind of the same color, too. Kai is very disproportional. Her legs are so long for her body. It's very cute, and her tail is all curled up, and she genuinely looks like she's smiling in recent posts on the Facebook page. Friends of the South Park Buffalo Preserve posts on Facebook a lot. They do photos. They raise awareness about the buffalo family and just works with the county to improve conditions for the animals. So if you can't make it to South Park, I would definitely recommend following this Facebook page because they are posting lots and lots of updates, lots of photos of the baby, some information about how the herd is adjusting. And one oddly specific update, they posted when the mom buffalo, when her afterbirth came out.
Oh no.
It wasn't one of those where it's like sensitive material. Please click if you want to view it. It's just like showing up in people's feeds.
Well, it wasn't like a picture of the afterbirth. It was just like, the afterbirth is out. It came out naturally. Here's some pictures of the buffalo. But I was like, that's weirdly specific information to give out.
I definitely thought that people would just be scrolling and there would be like an image of afterbirth in their feeds.
Oh my gosh. Well, head to South Park. Go to the county pool, check out the baby buffalo, and maybe play a round of golf for cheap. You got lots of options down there. That is all for today here on CityCast Pittsburgh. Our music is by Benji, All the Kimonos, and additional music from epidemicsound.com. Mallory Falk is our executive producer. Sophia Lowe and Elizabeth Kama produced the show this week. Francesca DeBecco writes our Hey Pittsburgh newsletter. Kevin Gavin is our trivia master, and I am your host, Megan Harris. We will be back on Monday with more news from around the city. Have a great weekend, y'all.
And you can putt on a replica of Oakmont's 18th green. Oakmont
putting, not put on. Got it. Okay, I'm with you now. You can
okay.
putt
I
on
wondered
the
what
green.
was confusing about it.
I thought you meant like putting on a jacket, like maybe it was a green coat. Because that's a thing. It's like, I forget, the golf tournament in Georgia somewhere, like they wear green coats. Like that's the thing.